Hello my little rockers, I'm Gene Willow and this is the first in the history guide to acoustic metal and particularly acoustic death metal. Today we will talk about first playing it. This means the type of the guitar, the strings and actually playing the picking technique. Second we will talk about composing it. I will briefly touch on the intervals and harmonies. And third, recording. I will share about how I record it, mix and master it, and I will talk a little about my equipment. So stay tuned and be attentive. And for those who are on my channel for the first time and who doesn't imagine yet what I mean by acoustic death metal, here's what I mean by acoustic death metal. And here's what it sounds like when you just play it alone without the second guitar and without the bass. Now let's talk about the guitar type. First of all, it's better to take full-size guitar because smaller guitars, they have less bass, and the most powerful bass is given by a dreadnought guitar like this full-size dreadnought. There are also jumbo guitars that have a more round shape, and they are also full size, but they give a bit less of bass, but they have a beautiful prominent mid-range sound. So I would suggest that jumbo would fit better for black metal, and dreadnought would fit better for death metal. There are also guitars with cutaways, dreadnoughts and as well as jumbos. This cutaways, this part is removed here, so it gives you a better access to the higher frets, which makes for easier solo playing. But at the same time, this cutaway, it removes a bit of the body, so it also removes a bit of bass. And I'm talking about the bass not because I generally believe that more bass is better, but in this case, in the case of acoustic metal, at least in my opinion, the amount of bass of an acoustic guitar, this is what makes death metal sound really heavy. The next detail to talk about is the strings. Normally you want new strings on your guitar, but in the case of death metal, I personally prefer old strings because they don't have this they already don't have this ringing that distracts you from the low frequencies. In my opinion, old strings, they sound really heavier for death metal, so I just don't mind changing them often. I actually have one song on my channel. It's the cover of Napalm Death, Scum, and this song is played with new strings. So you can listen to it and to compare the sound to any other death metal cover on my channel, so you will hear the difference. For achieving a heavier sound, you will also probably want to tune your guitar lower than the standard tuning. I play death metal in the key of D, it's like one step down, and I use open G6 tuning, which means the 6th and the 5th strings are tuned one step down each. And for this tuning, I use a hybrid gauge 1052. So this allows me to play in lower tuning, but the strings don't sag and everything sounds nice. And here are some bad news. Playing death metal and black metal on an acoustic guitar is more difficult than playing it on an electric guitar, because strings are more rigid, hard to press and to pick, so it requires physical strength. So this makes it really difficult to play a complicated song from the beginning to the end. Talking about the playing and picking, it also will sound heavier if in riffs, when you pick the sixth string PalmMuted, you pick not only the 6th string, but holding the 5th interval, you will pick the both 6th and 5th string. So instead of this, you do this. You can even imitate this Tremolo Machine to make these cool tricks, like kind of dive bombs. Not really, but this thing reminds it. Let me demonstrate. Something like this. And now let's briefly talk about the composing. So first of all, don't be boring, don't limit yourself to using only the perfect 5th like we normally do in metal. Use variations to make this nice, weird, dissonant sound, really evil sound. So use, first of all, diminished 5th, major dyad, and the minor dyad. And here's an example where example of a riff where I used all three. And the next tip on composing. So while writing the song for 2 guitars, to record it with one guitar in the left channel, the second guitar in the right channel, instead of playing both riffs exactly in the same manner on 2 guitars, make it on one guitar, shift it up the fret, for example, to make a harmony. So shift it one step up, two frets up, 3 frets up. So this will create a nice harmony and the sound will be more interesting. So let me demonstrate. And finally, let's talk about the recording. So first of all, I don't have high-end equipment. I just use this condenser microphone. This is connected to my audio interface, and it's connected through USB to my computer. I use Adobe Audition to mix and master everything. Acoustic death metal is really easy to mix and master because of the overall density of the sound that is lower than in traditional death metal and traditional metal in general, because in traditional metal the guitars are distorted and they leave less room for every other instrument. So it's a problem to make every instrument sound clear. With acoustic metal it's not really a problem. Especially when because I don't use drums. I don't have real drums, and I don't feel like incorporating programmed electronic drum machine sound into acoustic music. So I just don't use drum at all, and this also makes for a better clarity, for more room for every instrument in the mix. I don't like to use compression, so I adjust all levels manually using the automation function. So if some peak, some place in the track sounds too loud or too quiet, I just adjust it manually using the automation instead of compressing it, because I prefer to keep the natural dynamics. The guitars. I only apply a bit of reverb to the guitar parts and equalizer to remove the lowest frequencies so they don't conflict with the sound of the bass guitar. How I record the bass? I record the bass just on the same guitar that you saw in this video, but I pitch it down an octave down in the software afterwards. So the regular guitar becomes the bass guitar. Vocals. I only add an equalizer to the vocals to remove the lowest frequencies so they don't conflict with the bass, and add just a little bit of reverb. Those were all points that I wanted to explain in this guide. If you think that the guide is incomplete, you have any questions, something is unclear, please ask in the comment and I will reply. I'm going to make more videos, so for not missing anything, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button, because if you don't hit the bell button, YouTube will not notify you about some of my new videos. Explore my channel for more acoustic death and even a bit of black metal and heavy metal, and see you next time.